Hey, top of the morning to you. I'm Michael. As the grandkids call me Roo. Thanks for being on the show. It's Monday morning. I think it's still in May. Is it the 24th today? I believe that's right without looking at a calendar. If I had a calendar in here, I'd know what day it was and I wouldn't have to say, is it the 24th? I don't know. There's one on my computer, but everything's shut off on my computer before I start one of these shows. My email, my messaging, and all that stuff. Uh, Anyway, phones try to shut off so it doesn't ring during this time and just have some white space because white space is important to artists. If you haven't figured that out by now, you got to have white space. White space helps your painting come alive. It gives you a little time, but white space also just creates that little time in your brain where the wheels start turning. Unfortunately, my white space trigger fired a little early this morning, 3:43 to be exact, and tossing and turning, and my brain started going, no. And I'm going like, don't go there. Don't. You don't have to tell that story. You don't have to have that meeting today. You don't have to worry about that. And it wasn't necessarily stressed out, but I started thinking of things, and then I thought of a painting, and I'm going like, no, don't go down that road. It's way too early for that. But I got there, and so I finally dozed off and woke back up long before my alarm was set to go off. But in the process, I thought of a couple things, and so my painting came out at that time this morning. So I went down, made a cup of tea, or I came in the room. I'm upstairs, downstairs. I'm all over the house, try to sneak around, try not to wake Carol up before she's ready to roll out of there and get her day going with stronger coffee than I'll ever drink. Hey, a good top of the morning to you. Good to be here. Let me show you what the desk looks like, and I'll say hello a little bit. Here's the desk this morning. It just has a pile of brushes, and there's just a couple of everythings here. I painted yesterday with a little brush that I hadn't used in a while. I found a brand new number 4. Woo-hoo-hoo. Just a little brush, kind of a fun little brush. Just a American Journey brush. Actually took the cap off of it. Ding, I love that feeling. And when you just pop the cap off of a new brush, I thought, man, this 4 is like history. Where is I thought I bought a new one, and there it is. So I will retire this one that's lost all its paint. It's spinning around in the ferrule here, the metal part that holds the hair in. But I don't want to get rid of it just yet. I'll put it in the grandchildren's box for a little bit because they can rough it up and paint crafts with it for a while before I display it to some other foreign site of recycle. Anyway, got a few pins on the desk this morning. This is what the desk looks like. There's a counter going on there. I'm not sure why. Must have had that up there for something. Let me show you what the picture looks like. There it is right there. And so the first thing I picked up this morning was I went and I found I think it was the London Philharmonic, an old CD of some music. And it was the first song I hit was this one right here. This will crack you up. Here. The Flight of the Bumblebee. There it is right there. And so, what happens when I do that? I grab a piece of paper and a pencil or a pen, and I just start sketching like crazy. And I thought, this is the flight of a bumblebee. Now, you got to realize I grew up in a house with honeybees. As a matter of fact, on our property, just a few acres, we had a honey house. My dad called it the honey house, and my name is Han, so it was called the Han Honey House. So we had this honey house that was there. And we had bees. But there's a big difference between honeybees and bumblebees. This is the flight of the bumblebee. It would not be the flight of, they look alike. I know when you draw them, right? One's bigger than the other. But we don't necessarily eat and rob bumblebee honey. We rob honeybee honey. We think of bumblebees as just flying all over the place, just going here, yon, and there. I don't know what made me think of this morning, but I think it's maybe, I love honeybees, but I think I probably paint more like a bumblebee. And I think the reason that is because honeybees, tend to have honeybees tend to be streamlined and go about their business really well and do what they do so perfectly. they just get it, And then you have bumblebees, man. They tend to just be messy and go really fast, and they buzz you, and they're just all over the place. Anyway, so I was just thinking about that as I this is, where did I get this paper? Oh yeah, this is Kilimanjaro scrap paper in between. I love this paper. Uh-oh, that's all's left in here. This is the fly sheet or the sketch sheet between each piece of Kilimanjaro. I hope there's, wait a minute. Oh yeah, here we go. In the box down here, I've got one already open. There it is, right there. Okay. All right. So there it is. So I'm okay. I'm good. I'm good to go. So in between the 140-pound watercolor paper in the Kilimanjaro 10 by 5.5-inch original bright white paint book. And why do I like this so much? You go, boy, that is a limited real estate, isn't it? But you know what? A lot of the paintings that people have room for in their home is about this size. As a matter of fact, you wind up cutting that down and framing it 5 by 7. It gives you a little bit of room, wiggle room on the end. Anyway, in between all this beautiful rack cotton watercolor paper is a little fly sheet. So I ripped those out, and they're really well. They has a little bit of a surface on it that allows you to, it's slick. It's slick as glass. Or slicker, but it allows you to paint with it on watercolor, use markers, and it's good scratch paper to sketch on. It also, if you keep it in the book, if you're traveling, it'll allow you to cover up the next page before you drop a lid back down on one. So it gives your painting some protection. So Kilimanjaro, that's one of my favorite papers. I think you guys know that. But I thought of a painting this morning, and then I doodled it at my coffee spot. So let me throw these down here. Then I'm just going to say hello. So some of you have jumped on the show. Quite a few of you have. Welcome. Good morning. Beverly Miller, thank you for saying hello. And Laurie Belushi and Irma. Irma, thank you. You're such a giver. And Irma, just some days you'll just get a package. It'll come to your door, and Irma will just have dropped something in the mail. And if I regress, and it's not that I forget, sometimes I just get busy and I think, well, I'll need to send a note back out, and I don't send a note back out, but I'm so grateful. Don't send me things because you think you have to. Just if you find, please. I never want to plea for that sort of thing, but I love it when something shows up surprisingly, as you love it when you get a piece of art. The birds have flown. My little concrete birds went out. They're all out there to be out. So, and I've still been sketching birds. I want to show you some of those anyway in here. So Patricia Deaton, thank you for being on the show. Denise Albright, Pat Brooks, always a privilege to have you on the show, my friend. And I hope your eyes are doing better. And so I know you went through a little procedure, and I've had that done with my own eyes, and it's fantastic to get some new workings. Karen Binder, thank you for being on the show. Randall Taylor, Craven, Annette Wall, Bob Hendrick. Let's see. I have to stop here. Morning from the 3 brick Chevrolet cornfields of Iowa. The 3 little pigs. Let's see, they had sticks and bricks and straw. Was that right? So I'd take the bricks any day, make a house. Funny. Melanie Wilkes, thank you for being on the show. Jean Ann Thalsner. I'm sure I butcher your name every time I say it. Alice Durham, thank you for being on the show. Barbara Mayer, Elaine Barnett. Phil always loved cloudy and damp in Northwest Ohio, Phil Wilbarger says. And Lori Stanley, Handelmeyer Henderson. Linda Linhart, notice my voice is really scratchy today? Yeah. I've had about the last couple of days with just some allergy stuff. It's a good morning in Greenville, South Carolina, says Skeeter Powell. Sally Smith, welcome. Susie DeLay. Dorothy Beasley, goodness gracious, all you folks popping on this morning, thank you for being on the show. Sandra Stone, I'm jumping through. Karen Bender, there's Tom from up on the coast of Maine. Tom, you got a great hand at art, my friend. Jimmy Jensen, you too. Some of you, your art is just amazing. Here's the watering can pottery. So there you have it. So good morning from the watering can pottery. Okay, I assume you make watering cans, but you probably make other little things too. But I like a good watering can. We have several on the back porch that are ones, a couple are antiques, and so that's pretty fun, huh? Sharon Clark, thanks for being on the show. June Jones, Trish Brown, Chris Whitaker. Good grief! Some of these names I feel like if we showed up in the same restaurant somewhere, I'd go, "Hey, my old friends are here." And that's what I've loved about this, because you guys have gotten deep into the weeds with each other as you communicate back and forth during artwork. Bless you all for doing that so well. Linda Lawless says, yes, it's the flight of the bumblebee. But I did grow up with honeybees. You know, my dad, just a great beekeeper. I mean, you've heard me say this in my 269 or 70 days I've been doing this. My dad, the last year I left home, when I left home that year, it was time. I would say, like, it's time for me to move off to the mountains and do some work other than bee work. And I helped a little bit here and there, and helped Rob and put supers together and do all those things that we did as my dad became more of a beekeeper. And he did national crafts festivals, and he did shows. Even at Silver Dollar City, it became Dollywood. He was their beekeeper for a while, so I got to go in there, storytell and goof off. And anyway, but the interesting thing about that is my last year, this will tell you about our little honey house, what came out of there. The last year I was home, 13,000 pounds of honey. And over 2,000 pounds of that were just sourwood. So that's 6.5 tons of honey that my dad extracted and would ship out. So his bee business was kind of fun as a one-man show. And he'd get us all to help. So we washed jars and labeled, and oh my gosh, I still have a couple of his old jars and some of his labels. And anyways, just gives a fun history. Sue Kane, thanks for being on from Australia. And Mickey Hupp, thank you for being on the show. Lisa Pasori, I think you're on the show this morning. Michelle Mace, the other Michelle, the Michelle that lives next to me, who has a bird in her house. That is a lot of honey. Okay. Yes, 13,000 pounds. And I'm going like, Dad would say, so he said, oh, you have bees? He said, yeah, I have a few. And, there's about 50,000 bees per hive. And so if you start figuring up 50 or 60 hives, we'd take those bees and move them down into Cookeville, Tennessee, when the sourwood trees came in bloom. Staple a little screen over the wire at night, or over the opening at night, a little screen wire, and put them on a truck and haul them down, open them up. And the next morning, my dad would go, those bees get out, and they go, whoa, look at the sourwood. All right, I got to paint. I don't have to, but I want to. Thanks for being on the show today. I just should have put on some music and paint. And today I thought of this painting when I woke up this morning. And, I started it in here. Let me show you, see if I can find it. It's not in there. I started in one of these little books. Here it is, right here. Okay, so these little books, in fact, it's time for me to go. Look at this. I've got to go, I got to do something with these. I've been painting birds. I decided that if I painted 50, I'd get better at it. If I painted 100, I'd get even better at it. If I paint 150, I might have them getting close to being down. I'm getting there. The touch. In fact, most of these little books I have painted in with this little palette right here, my little Altoid box palette, and 2 different water brushes. As a matter of fact, I think Irma sent me this one, this little tiny water brush. Look at that thing. Is that great? She mailed me that thing, and I carry it in my pocket sometimes. Jip, right there. And people go, would you sign this? And I could take this out and just put water on their receipt. And they go, what the heck's wrong with you? I'll say everything. This is an NIJI. This watercolor brush is from Yasutoma. That's a good brush. So I keep that one there. Keep another one of theirs right here. Keep one of theirs here. I keep theirs all over the cotton picking place. But they're good brushes. I like to use those when I'm just painting and doodling in these. 95% probably 100% of all these little drawing pads. It's not my favorite paper, but it's a great idea, doodle paper, to give me white space to sit down and think. I'm going to just start putting things in here that I want to paint next. So, I have one that's labeled miscellaneous. You can tell I had this one at the beach because it has some crabs in it. Some of these I sold at the auction. some of the little crabs. There's 3 in here. There's one day I got a new pen. It says, I'll be dipped. This will be fun. There's the day we did a thing on the, what do you call those? Dandelions, yes. And here's a carrot. Art, carry it on. There's the art, carry it on one. Here's, this one's not even labeled, but I assume that's a beet. Wonder what that was going to be called. Beat me. I think there's a, can you carry it over here? There's a nice little carrot. I like that one. Can you carry it over here? Oh, there's one right. What's for lunch beats me. This is, it's not celery. It's anemic rhubarb. Well, I guess I didn't have that in here. I thought that was in here. Rats. Where is that one? There's one. There's some wine bottles. I think I painted that up in, where was I? Waynesville. I was in Waynesville, and I saw this little piece of art on the wall that has some cheese and grapes. Maybe that's where this next painting came from. I had an idea of a painting. There's some little bluebirds I started painting. There's an owl, not owl, but owl. There's a bee. Hey, honey, where you be? There's a fly. It's time. There's a dragonfly. Look, I see me in the mirror. So, here you go. Ain't we some pair? You see that? It's a pear with a little ladybug on top. Ain't we some pair? Here it is right here. So I was doodling at the table this morning, and I doodled out this little painting here, which I painted these little peeps standing under the grapes before. And it sort of made me laugh that I wanted to do a bigger version of this. So instead of paint this one right now, I think I'm going to start with the bigger version. Yeah. I was going to paint a warm-up painting this morning out of the book, but I don't think I can do that. Let's see. I just need a good piece of paper here. Maybe I'll just use Kilimanjaro. And I'm just going to rip a piece out of here. Just to lay it flat. I do like this book if I'm traveling, but I'm just going to take a piece out. And there's the scrap piece. If I need a little play around, I actually pulled it out, which I don't normally do. Some of this paper has a watermark, and I still love seeing a watermark sometimes in painting. So here's my original idea right here. Let me just come in just a tad closer here if I can. There we go. So as you can see, I've got a little grapevine coming out. I got some grapes and leaves coming down. I got these 2 peeps down here, but I wanted a little more space. I'm not going to paint it much bigger than this but I wanted some space. So I don't think I'm going to use a pencil. I think I'm just going to go sketch this with pen here. So in this case, the vine is coming up like so. There's a branch off of that. Maybe it goes back. Maybe it comes up a little more. Then it's coming across. Going to break down a little bit here. So I don't know what grapevines look like. Yeah, I do, actually. I've been in the vineyards in Sonoma, a gorgeous property out there, just where you see some beautiful vineyards. But I know some of the old vines are strong, and they got twists in them and turns. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just put some grapes in here, like right here. Just going to put some grapes. I'm just drawing like I would be drawing a pack of marbles here. But some of them I'm not going to finish. I'm just going to hang a few down behind like this. I do know this. They gravity, they actually are larger at the top, smaller at the bottom. All grapes are made that way. That's just how God put them on the vine. And I know that grape leaves have a lot of little breaks in them. I could go look at pictures if I wanted to, but hey, that'd be the easy way, but it wouldn't be the cowboy way. So I'm just doing these the way I remember, and kind of the way I did them in this. This was just out of my head. I wasn't looking at a vineyard. I did a painting like this once before that had to do with these peeps waiting on a similar thing, and I'll show you what that is here in just a second. So these grapes hang down. There's some more starting right here. So real quickly, you can just make little circles, and some of those circles just kind of hang around each other. Some are just semicircles, and And then you got these little squigglies that hang out and they go everywhere. One of the things, Carol and I stayed in a vineyard many years ago out in Napa Valley and Sonoma. We had a friend who found us a place to stay on this farm. And so we went out and stayed. And they had 4 acres, or maybe just 2 acres, of grapes that they always sold to a vineyard down the road. But the little cottage that we lived in was right in the middle. So when you came out on the back porch, there were pomegranate trees there. And then there were these vineyards. And the sun would come up, the eastern sun would come in the morning and light those leaves from behind. And I'm just going to tell you, I wasn't painting then, wasn't drawing then. Just going out there to look at art and just have some white space time, and Carol and I hang out. And I'm telling you what, it blew my mind. I'd never seen anything like it. Just the gorgeousness of the leaves. And my friend Chip, who's on the show today, he and I say this. He started it with me several months ago when he said, what color are leaves? And I said, well, I guess they're green. And he says, yeah, on the interstate at 70 miles an hour. But what happens at 15 miles an hour? And you start to see the different hues and the tones and the greens. And it's a great way to look at life. Sometimes, and I think I told you last week, we had dinner at Chip and Cheery's house, and we slowed down to about 4 miles an hour, or maybe 2. And just dropped everything we could think of on the little hibachi grill and ate it hot, pineapple and orange. And, we're getting ready to do some more burnt oranges. I'm telling you, man, you haven't lived until you've had burnt oranges. And Francis Mallman is a South African who has a great recipe for burnt oranges, and they are just fabulous. Okay, so there's that. I wander around when I tell stories. That's why I'm more like a bumblebee than a honeybee. They say the honeybee takes a straight line because he doesn't want to waste any time, any honey, any money. He's on his way. Okay, so there's my grapes. And that took me about 6 minutes telling a story to do those. That's pretty detailed for me. Okay, so I'm kind of proud of myself. And then I think what I want to do is I think I'm going to go ahead and sketch these 2 in here so I don't get paint and just paint it all at once. And so I want these 2 peeps, and I want one like this. He's coming in from the side here. A little different than the one I drew there. Just kind of coming in like this. Is that how I wanted that one? I think so. I think I want him looking up right there. Yeah, just sort of like that. Kind of cool looking, just right there. Maybe this one has something in his hand. Let's see. Oh, yeah, a little platter. And this one right here has a little stump. Let's put a little wooden stump here. And then on top of the stump, let's put a mason jar, just like that, like a little pint jar there. And we could put the word ball right on there so you would know, oh, that's a mason jar. Okay, so we got a little stump here. And so in this little plate that this one has in its hand, I'm going to put some cheese and a little cheese knife. Some Jarlsberg and maybe some Stilton with some, you got to know your cheese when you're doing this sort of thing here. And so gives me plenty of room to write a caption down here. So there's my little scene. So I've just created a storytelling scene, which is what I love to do. I'm taking a Yasutoma all-purpose number 2. This is a SW brush. I can get some of this out of the way. What I can do too is I can take this. Do I even have a stylus pen up here? Yeah, there's one. Okay, I can take this little stylus pen and I can go in here and just touch some of this grapes with that. Just double them over a little bit if I want to. Just don't even have to color them in. Put a couple spots in there. And I'll also take this pen. Why? I'll show you in just a second. Sometimes I do this with pens just to take some of the work out of mixing watercolor. One thing I know, where's my little pens in my pocket already? Yeah, there it is right there. Okay, so here we go. So what I'm going to do now is that I'm going to take, and I took my paints earlier and I sprayed a little water in them like so. And I know some of you have seen me do this a million times and you still challenge yourself to do it. Just loosen up and have some fun with it. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to go in and I'm just going to start touching the grapes with a clean brush with some water. And I'm just going to barely drop a little bit of water here and there and let that ink start to bleed a little bit. Let it start to just take off. I'm going to come and get a little bit of blue, drop a little blue in there, just like so. I'm not really trying to paint the grapes. I'm just making it happen as it goes. I'm going to go get a little bit of this royal amethyst, which is purple, like so. Let me show you what it looks like right here. There we go. Man, is that a gorgeous color? Here's the blue that I'm chasing right here. That's good for that. And then remember, I just had a little bit of the ink in there from the pen. So those are my palettes right there. I can just go in here and get this. And I love just using the paper sometimes as a palette. And if I get too much on there, I can just take a little piece of paper towel and go in and just touch them like this. And look what happens. Remember I told you the other day, it's sort of like scrimshaw. You know, when in scrimshaw, you take the piece of whalebone. And yes, if you haven't done it, do it someday. You got to create your own little tools. You get a piece of whalebone, you smooth it down, or a horn. I used to scrimshaw powder horns for guys who did reenactments and mountain men, you know, who needed a powder horn. And I'd put their name on there, a little scene, and you scratch it in with an awl or a very sharp tool or needle. You ink it with India ink, and you let it dry for just a little bit. Then you wipe the excess off. And excess is not access, right? Well, I grew up in East Tennessee. And you wind up getting this beautiful ink down in there. So what I did here was I just let some of that water start the bleeding inside the grapes themselves. I let it sit there for a minute. Then I just took a clean paper towel and I pressed it on, sound effects included. And what happens is the grapes, you see the lines pop up and it kind of comes to fruition and they look like grapes. And now I'm just going in here and sporadically adding some color. And notice sometimes I'm staying in between the lines and sometimes I'm not. And sometimes I'm going to add a little purple on some of those leaves like that just to get a little darkness in there. Sorry, my voice is so scratchy today, but it's been that way. Yesterday I was working on a voiceover for a video and I'm going like, hey, they're going to think somebody else cut this voiceover. It doesn't sound like me, but they might like it better. They'll say, hey, we want that other guy. And I go, well, he's not in the studio today. He got better. All right. So as you can see, what's coming together is this little, looks like a tree limb, but if I went on out, you know, if I really wanted to create this, I'd create this wire here with some ties on it, and I'd create it all the way across like this, and I'd have this wire hanging down right here, which grapevines get heavy, so they have to have a wire on top of them. So I've got some little ties on there. So that way, you're just looking at a cross section of the vineyard itself, the vines hanging down. And I'll go put a little more brown down in here just to get some stems going, just a little bit like this, just a touch more, maybe a little this. And then also, I'm remembering that sun coming up when I was looking through those leaves, so I'm just going to drop a little yellow in there, maybe a touch of orange in my vineyard right in there like that. Just make it a little busier, a little messier. And then maybe a couple of these little squiggles are green, you know, they're all not just, there they are right there. And so I suddenly have this cool looking little vineyard. And I kind of like it. All right. So then what I do is I'll come in here and I'll grab some gamboge yellow, and I might just touch these little, there's a spill I didn't want. Let me get a little piece of clean paper towel for that. One thing you're doing, if you're going to work with a Yasutoma brush, if you're going to work with a bamboo brush, you're going to be moving a lot of water. So I have to control that by dipping it in the water and sometimes giving it a shake into a paper towel or a dab or a daub, depending on if you're from East Tennessee or from Northwest Ohio. We daubed it down here. Y'all may dab it up there, but there we go. Just poop. And I need a little bit of that in there. So I'm going to wet this just a little bit, and I'll wet this one and just let him cook a little bit while this one comes in. And then I just put the brush in there and let my brush dance. And that's how you get some of that looseness by leaving those holidays like so. Do the same thing. Come in with a touch of orange, a little more of that gamboge right here, and then just kind of come in. So remember, I wet this one first and then just let the water soften up and go into the pigment of the paper some. Not too much water. I didn't pour it in. I didn't want it to get buckly. These words that I make up, but you know what I mean by now, right? Some of you painted with me enough now, and you're trying some great stuff. Listen, let me tell you, some of you, I'm going to say it again, you are amazing artists. And all right, this is, I saw this here as just kind of a little wooden box or a stump. I always do boxes and stumps in my art. Why? They're just creative places to put stuff. There's a real call for some turquoise here, and I thought the plate that this peep was carrying out should be turquoise. You really can't see that because it got quite dark, so I'm just going to go a little deeper here with the line. Let you see a little more turquoise. There's the dish right there that ran away with the spoon. Maybe some slats in this little stump if it's sitting out there like that. And then, of course, I could also come in with one of my pens and create a little more, create a little more hatch marks here. Just hatch it out a little bit and then come in and cross hatch it this way. And that's kind of how I do my soil underneath. Come back with this brush and just drag a little water over it first, like so. Let it turn blue, and then go in here and get some of this green and let that blue and green sort of come together. That'd be good for a pond. It'd be great for a creek. It'd be great for grass too. Now, if I come in and put a little bit of vineyard soil in there like so, I'll just put some weeds up in there like that. I like it. I like it. All right. How about TTT on the ball jar? I could put it if I had a lid on it, but you're assuming that I had a lid on it, see, but I'm not. This jar is open, and here's why. See, here's why right here. There's the reason right there. Where's my little brush? I'll show you now. I'm going to come in and do this leaf first right here. You don't always paint everything at the same time. You always leave a little bit of a reveal. If you're painting for your grandkids, you don't want them to know the punchline before you get to it. That's the biggest stealing piracy in the world, is to beat someone to their punchline. So what I'm doing is I still am holding out for what I think this is going to be. Take a little of this purple right in there, drop it in right there, and you realize now that it's beginning to drip. So they're waiting on the grapes to drip into there, while this roux here is bringing us some cheese. Now I need some color for this cheese, so I think I'm going to use this buff titanium. Yeah, that's it right there. I'm going to use a little buff titanium for that cheese. And then this other cheese is probably going to be it's a Stilton, so it's going to have a little dark yellow in it, and it's going to have a little touch of this interesting brown on the crust right here too. Just create a little bit of that right there. And this knife handle is going to have turquoise on it too. There we go. There's the turquoise on the knife handle. There's Terry Tardy turquoise made it to the knife handle. I need a little streak of blue in my bell jar. There it is right there. There's just a little bit of that. And then you see some darker purple down in there. There it is. So the grapes are dripping into. Now, once again, this got really muddy right here. You can't see it probably in small, but I'm just going to touch that again. There it is. And then just with a paper towel, and it took a lot of that heavy color out of there and gave me just a little softness. I'm going to put some of it back in, and I'm going to put some darker ones in here. I'm going to give a couple little red pops right in there. And you go, what did he just do? Why would he put red in there? Because we got some leaves that are turning. And then I'm just going to give this a little bit of a splatter to dirty it up a little bit, maybe with a little bit of Payne's Gray up in there. And then maybe a little bit down here, just like so. Maybe a little bit of blue sky up here with that. Flip it in. So I suddenly have this little painting, and I think the caption is clear to me already. The ladybugs want to get in my grapes before they get time to drip. So fast picking. I got it. So here's the thing. This leaf here is a little too green too. I got that one out right there. So I have this maybe a little too much red orange right there. So now I have it. So I have this vineyard that's colorful. You can see what it is. So now you have this concept that I've done. Now all it needs is a caption. And so what woke me up was the good Lord, I guess, at 3:43. But then I wandered around there going like, okay, glass of water. I'm not going down to make tea yet. What is going on? Why can't I sleep? And then I thought of this painting. And I thought, you know what? I know what they're saying. They're saying something like this. And I'm going to do this in pencil because I'm going to come back and do it pen later. You know, those others, and I'm just drafting it sort of, those others are scratching for bugs. Well, fine taste is acquired. Okay, so it's something like that. Okay, so there's what came to me. See, you have these two peeps in the vineyard. What makes this funny for me, and this is just me, but this is what makes it funny for me. You have these two peeps in the vineyard, and you go like, you know, a chicken will just run over you to get a bug, but not these two chickens. See, because they were probably raised by the bon vivant that lives in my house, my wife, who says everybody's out there scratching for those big bugs, but I'm telling you, fine taste is acquired, or not everyone has fine taste, or, you know, so there's something there. So here you see them waiting on the wine and the cheese. And so it just makes me realize that instead of scratching around all the time like the bumblebee, sometimes you just sit down with friends and you have a little wine and cheese and you make some white space happen. We've had a year of it, but I'll tell you, it's refreshing. Saturday night, Carol and I took two of our grands to a concert that was just off the chain. Full house, sold out, no mask in the room. The band, dear friends of ours, just killed it. Just absolutely. They're on the road, and this was their fourth date being out on the road. It was just off the charts. It's a band that we listen to quite often. We know them. We know their family. One of their brothers is a dear friend of mine here in Charlotte. The band is called We the Kingdom. And so Franny is a good friend. She and Carol, she's the daughter of the guy who is the producer. Anyway, it was a privilege to be with people. But I came back home and I had a cup of tea and I went, this was a fun evening. Now a little white space is good. So find some white space in your life, and it could be right at your art desk, okay? It could be just with simple tools. And so for me, I'll go back and I'll finish this little painting. So here it is. You can just see. So I roughed this out without a caption. I just was sitting there having my tea early this morning going like, hey, there's two little peeps. And I think this caption is going to be, wait for it. And so it's the drip he's going to get. And so I'll wind up painting this again with a different caption and probably a different style. I won't do all the detail of the cheese. I'll probably do the vineyard again. And so those are how I come up with paintings. And I'll paint that 2 or 3 times. So when we have the auction, I'll throw it in there. I'll throw the little ones in. As a matter of fact, some of these little ones for me is the way that I collect these ideas. So before I sell these, and some of these will sell as small paintings, and I'll just kind of create a fun little price for them so people can frame them nicely. Even though it's on 80-pound paper, it's pretty decent quality. And these are framed really well, you know, and some have captions, some don't. This one just says, dang Blue Jay. I mean, come on, look at the face. Dang Blue Jay. And so This is a grasshopper that I started and didn't finish. I'll finish him sometime. Here's one that says, well, chickadee. All right. And there's a bird. There's a bird that I didn't finish. There's clean paper. But I want to show you a bird that I did that I really like here. This, of course, is the circus bird. Even though the front of this says songbirds, well, he can be singing in the circus. Hey, we need some seed out here. Some of you have seen these. There's something funny about a bird asking another hummingbird what the words are. And he goes, dude, it's not important. Really? What the words of that song you're humming? Really? This is Thistle While You Work. This is When I Survey. This is No More Chocolate Popcorn for Me. Wait a minute. I got to find the one I'm looking for. This one's, he's talking about bugs. This is like, it's a cute little green yellow bird. This one is making fun of the brown morated Hyphenapha halus, which is really a glorified Latin name for a stink bug. And this is still one of my favorite paintings, and I'm going to paint this bigger one day. It's these little, you know how wrens just are circus birds. You two better not be playing with your food. I know some of you have seen this, but wait, that's not the one I'm looking for. I'm going to come up with something original. That's a mockingbird. Come on, where is it? So sorry. Maybe it's not in this book. Oh, there it is. Okay. Look at this. It's called Bedhead. All right. So there's a cardinal with some cool sunglasses on. It's called Bedhead. And so these are the little paintings that I do that I enjoy so much, that just make me laugh to myself, and they keep me, and I do them in that white space time where I've got no rush, no push. And those are far and few between when I'm really busy with my other work and what I've got to keep going. But it makes me happy to pull those off and yank them out. There's this little bluebird that I've been practicing on so much. And so that's full of birds. This one's full of beans. This one's full of birds or carrots and vegetables. And so there you go. So those I'll yank out of here one of these days. I'll photograph them all and I'll throw them into the auction, and we'll make a fun price on them. I mean, like $25 each. You get a piece of original art, and I mail it to you. So that's almost $5 in shipping. So it's a $20, something like that. We'll do it. Okay. That way, if you want a fun piece of original art to gift, you've got it. It's not a print. It's the original. It's the actual paint, messy piece of paper signed. I kind of love that. And Sandra, I think you sent me 3 of the little crabs back, and I did sign them, and they're already on their way back. I put them in an auction envelope, and I realized that they were like on this little paper, and I didn't sign them. I'm so sad. But she got them back to me safely, and I've already remailed them. So they've traveled more than I have the last few weeks. All right, so that's what I use this little paper for. And by the way, those of you who are on Roo 857, the Roo Basics class, looks like I've got to get some of these little pads, and I'm going to be giving some away. So Cheap Joe's called me, and Megan and I had a great conversation, and she wants to pass on maybe a few of these little pads so I can give them to some of you guys for just your white space doodling. And that's so important. Keep a small pad. Keep your bug out bag ready to go. I still have a few bug out bags. They're somewhere. You know what they look like if you haven't seen one. If you haven't seen one by now, there it is. It's a 7 by 12 inch bag that all of my fun little stuff fits in. I've got some extra pens, extra brushes, a water brush. I even have a couple of these brushes in here, which I think I've shown you this brush. Look here. I keep one here on my desk and one in this bag. Look at these brushes. This is the normal American Journey brush right here. This is the normal size of the brush. There's the little travel brushes that sometimes I use. See them? Aren't those cool? Yeah, that's a number 4 and a number, I better look before I tell you something. Number 4 and a number, a number 4 and a number 4. Well, okay. Maybe that's why I had one laying here on the desk. I have 1 4 in here. And sometimes, you know, when I retire a brush like this one, I'll just, number 3, I'll just push it down in here. I think it's a 3. It's all worn off and cracked and chipped. But I'll keep that in my bug out bag because when I'm on the road, that's perfectly good. So little canvas bag says we're bugging out. Anyway, yeah, special thanks to Megan. You know what? Those guys are so friendly and they're so great. And they say, man, we love your people sending us notes and say you're painting with Roo. And we hustle to try and get their supplies to them. So thank you so much. If you want all of my colors, you can still find it in the Cheap Joe's catalog. Just go to their catalog online and type in search window Roodoodles. It'll come up. You know what the SKU is? 857. Hey, here's the painting that it is fully dry. I painted. Here's the painting that I painted Saturday morning, one lump or two. I want you to see it now that it's dry and how the colors stayed with it. Okay, so this is why you use really quality paper. The colors are just as bright now as they were when I painted them on here. Now there's not as shimmery because they dry a little bit, but you don't want your watercolor to be too shiny. You want the light to cause it to pop. So here it is. It's finished. It's got little squiggles on it. It's messy. It's my style, though. That's my style. My style is loose and messy and, just a handwritten thing that says, you want one lump or two? And there's this little peep with a ball peen hammer. And I love ball peen hammers. I love them so much that I keep one on my desk. So if I ever forget what one looks like, there it is. And this one it was handmade in a shop. It's got a pressure seated steel handle. This thing is remarkable. This thing would be, if this were stainless steel, a surgeon could use it to do hip replacements. They use it. I had my good friend, Dr. McCullough, came to see me one time, and he was the chief orthopedic surgeon in Mission Memorial Hospital in Asheville. And he said, you know what? He had an old CJ5 Jeep that I kept running for him on the camp. And he'd bring it in, and he'd say, my Jeep needs this. So I'd weld something to it. It needed something all the time because he'd get down on his farm and tear it up. And so he said, I said, it's over there in my toolbox. He opened my toolbox. He goes, whoa. And I said, hey, what's the matter? And he said, my toolbox at the hospital looks like your toolbox, except all my tools are stainless steel, so I can put them in the autoclave. And I'm going like, man, you are a scary person. I don't want to see your toolbox that you're working on humans with, that they look like my toolbox that I work on Jeeps and motorcycles with. What is wrong with you? So those are my friends that I would hang out with. And that's part of my education. Camp was an amazing part of my education as I grew up. All right, so let's paint something fun here just for grins. This is, so I'm painting on Kilimanjaro. This is Fluid 100 paper here. So I've got, about 10, 11 minutes to go here in the hour. And let's paint something. There's some wobble or paint on this anyway. Water rushes have water at the top. I'm not, maybe that was brushes. Yes. Somebody asking me a question here that I missed. Somebody went looking for the video from Saturday and couldn't find it. Yes, so did I. And you know what? Let me tell you what happened. Facebook, they didn't cancel it, but they muted it and stopped it simply because they said that I had used a piece of music that wasn't copyright free. And so I didn't, but because I don't do that as an artist, but they said, oh, well, someone threw a curve and said that's their piece of music. And I'm going like, well, that's interesting. It's their piece of music because I have a license that said I bought that piece of music from a production company. But to debate it and do all that just takes forever. And so I will try and re-put the show back up. I still have a copy of it. I kept a copy on my hard drive. And so I'll see if I can put Saturday's show back up there, and then I'll dispute the claim and say, look, here's the licensing agreement for the piece of music that I bought. Sometimes it can be a piece of music like this one right here, like this piece of music. Good example. That piece of music there is a licensed piece of music, and so I have a production site that I go to, and then I'm set up with a, credit card and all. And so I buy those pieces of music to be able to use them on the shows. And so sometimes, though, the person who creates the piece of music will sell it to another company. And so they'll go, hey, we didn't license that. And you go, well, you licensed it to me over there. That happens sometimes in the tool company that I work with. I'm very careful because you never want to put a piece of music out that it happened in the video that my son and I were working with Young Life. We said, wow, we had permission from 2 artists to use their songs. But sometimes the production companies, because it's done automatically, automated from a computer, it hears the piece of music and shuts down and immediately says, they don't have rights for that. That belongs to this production company. Even though you have the owner's right, you still don't have the right. It's a crazy world we live in, you know. But I still don't believe that you should pirate music. So I don't use captions from other people, right? I don't use, I just am careful what I use copyright-wise. One of the reasons that I have a little white space, I'm on the white space this morning, is so you'll let your mind sort of create your own work. The captions that I send out are, you know, they can't say, oh, well, he got that out of this book, or he took those old song lyrics, or he did this. No, you can't do that. All of that belongs to somebody somewhere. Okay? So if you're writing captions, let them be your words. Let them be how you become the poet. Let it be how you proclaim. Okay, so a little teaching moment within the show there. So that's kind of how that works. The hammer is a good paperweight. Well, yes, it is, but it's also great for doing my own brain transplant. Curious how you keep the brush in from getting all messed up in the bug out bags. One is the bag's long enough to hold them flat. If I've got a new brush that I'm putting down in there, then on my desk, I keep these little tabs like so. Here's a good case in point. And so I'll just put the brushes back in the little cup. Bing! That's not the one for this one, but it's the one for this one, I think. Nope, it's not that one either. Must be the other one. Anyway, I have one where this little, there's a whole, oh, here's one right here. Bing, there it is, right there. So there. So see that little plastic cover? So I keep these, and sometimes I'll slide them right in there like this, and I'll drop that down in the bug out bag, and that keeps them from all getting. So when you buy one of these brushes, they come with these little plastic caps on top, like so. So when I pull that off, I'll set this aside or set it in a little pan over here. And then if I'm taking this with me, I'll just make sure the brush is straight, drop it back in, slide this back on, drop them in the bag. That's one way to do it right there. That's mostly on my Yasutoma brushes. On my Cheap Joe's brushes, where I have a big old brush like this, that's nylon. If I lay it flat down in there on the bottom and pack that with, I don't have any problem. And I never put my bag on its end. I always lay it flat in my briefcase. So I think about things like that. It's a great question, though. What you don't want to do is get your brush out and go, oh, wow, that's great. That's for painting around corners, where you've had it like this for several hours. So not a good thing. Some of these brushes that I use come with a little hook on the back. And so what I do is I'll just take, if it's really, I've used it a lot, and it's really wet, I don't want to set it on its end, I'll just put a push pin in it like that. And then I'll just take it right over here and stick it to my wall. And hey, what's a little spackling compound when I have to paint this office? And right now it's got blue splatter on it and royal amethyst and terry tardy turquoise on it, because and so does my computer. Every now and then I have to come in with alcohol and clean up my computer. But that's kind of how I keep these little brushes straight too. Sometimes I'll just hang. And at any time I might have one or two hanging over here on the wall. Once they get really dried out pretty well, then I can set them back in my little bamboo cup here. And this actually is a real piece of bamboo. I just cut it off a piece of bamboo myself. And I put 2 big flat washers in it there to just give it a little weight in the bottom. I forgot they were in there, so there they are. I have another one of those here somewhere. Right here. There's one. There's one, just a straight one. So I keep that. And then, of course, I have this one. This is the one that I blew at the Greenbrier. This is a glass that, my first glass that I made. I wanted to make something to hold my brushes in. And I just dropped that pencil. Most of my brushes get damaged because I drop them and then roll over them with my chair in the office floor. So there we go. And then I have a pottery one for those of you who are potters. There we go. And I have some more CC1 brushes from Yasutoma in here. I have a squirrel tail brush in here. So it gives you a little idea of what's here. And then I also, my son works for Coca-Cola, and I cut the tops off of these aluminum Coke bottles sometimes. This is an aluminum Coke bottle. And it has some ball bearings in it just to make it weight. And I just keep pencils and some aqua brushes or water brushes in here. So I've got all that set over here that you don't even see or know about. And I have way too much on this desk than needs to be. But that's how it is. Hey, let's do a 5-minute rule before you have to go, okay? So just something kind of fun this morning with a little liquid watercolor paper. I love to do it. People love to see it run. So let's just get out a big old something here. How about this right here? And let's just do a stalwart Roo. You know what stalwart Roo is? He's sort of like this. He looks a little puny, actually. He's supposed to look stalwart, but maybe I can beef him up a little bit here. And then maybe he's just got 3 tail feathers back here, and I don't even have to put all those in because you can see right away. So the point of being able to sketch these so quickly and even get a little bit of detail in them, okay? So I'm getting some detail here. But the way that I can do that in less than 30 seconds to do that is because I've done hundreds of them. It's like watching Jason or Tom draw buildings. You know, you get to the point where you just go, man, I've got that down. I know how these toes are going to point, and I've just seen it enough that I don't have to look at it anymore. I don't have to think, oh, which way is that going to bend? And if I get it the wrong way, it doesn't really matter to me anyway. And it shouldn't matter to you as an artist, you know, because you're just doing work for yourself in most cases. So I sketched this rooster on this 9x12 fluid 100 paper. It's 100% pure cotton. Love this paper, by the way. I love the painting on the front. This is by Charles Reed. Oh my gosh. Yeah, he's a hero of mine. Never met him. I know some of you probably have, but he is just a phenomenal artist. What I want here is I want a big brush to move a lot of water. So I'm going to use an all-purpose SW4. Here it is right here. I'm just going to go in. I'm just going to grab some water. I'm not trying to paint it like I'm coloring in Miss Wilson's 3rd grade class or Miss Skelton's either. I had them both. I had Miss Rowland too. They just kept moving me around from class to class. They're saying, well, something's wrong with that boy. Let's put him in another class. And so I didn't try to color everything in. What I tried to do was just get some water going in there and leave some holidays. Take a look. See if you can see the shimmer. Almost. Yes, there. See the shimmer? And I don't want to hold it that way too long. It'll start to run on me. So now watch this. Let's go with some blue in the tail, and this blue needs to be rejuvenated, I think. This one sounds better. Let's try this one. Let's just try 1 drop of blue. Why does this blue dropper not work? Well, that's just low rent. Let's try this one. Ah, there we go. There we go. All right, so I have to remember that. This one here needs to have go in for an overhaul. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to now just move my piece of paper around and let the paint run a little bit like that. See, and look why it stopped right there was because there's a break there. There was no water that went past that. So watch this piece right here. Now I'm going to help it a little bit because I want it to get right up in there. There it goes. So I'm connected. I had a dam. It stopped. Okay, so there's a little bit. I want a little bit of red in him here. Got a couple minutes. I think I can finish this. A little bit of red up here, a little bit of red right here. And I think I'm just going to touch a little red right there and just let it work while I go in here with a thinner brush. See, I put my brushes up and I messed myself up this morning. There it is right there. Okay, here we go. All right. So what I'm doing here is I'm just letting the end of this brush dance just in there. Am I hitting all the spaces that I want to? Sometimes I'm not hitting as many as I thought I would, but I'm just going to leave those little holidays. Been that way the whole morning. White space is good. Grab a little bit of yellow, just put a little spot right there on his beak, and then just put a spot right there and let that spot, I think I'll put one more little piece of yellow right there. Okay? And just let that yellow come down. So watch this. I'm going to clean my brush out. And I'm going to go get some of this yellow and just paint it in there. And then just let this red and this yellow run together here. And just let it come down. Now, you know what happens when yellow and blue hit? You get green, which is just fabulous. And so here I've got all my primary colors, and they're all working for me. Okay? Everything is rolling. Everything is working well. And I'm just, now this brush, you see the advantage of just how fun it is. I'm holding it halfway back and I'm just playing with it. Man, this is a great way to paint. I think I want to pick up a little bit of black over here in my other paint. Just bring in some reference down in here. And then I got to get some orange. Let's see if I can get some orange right here. Get some orange yellow. Just on the body. Yeah, there we go. I got some right there. See, I just mixed it on the bird itself. If you haven't tried using your painting as your palette, do it. Here's why. Your colors are already there, so you know it's going to go well together. Now, there's a little bit too much red in the head right here, so I'm just going to get a clean towel. I'm going to go in and I'm going to blot this. You see this spot right here where I'm pointing? I'm just going to touch it like that and bring it off, bring the red off, and look, you saw yellow underneath it all along. I knew you were in there. Okay, and so just give him a little more of this. Some frills, some run by, some blow by. Put a little bit of black in here and come down here just with a little bit. See how nice this brush is? This is a number 2, and it's probably an inch, maybe 3/4 inches long, and it's the bristles. So if you're looking to buy one like that, you can find it. And I think I'm going to have some more of those to give away on the show. Looks like they're going to be sending me some soon. And love that those people have, and they appreciate you guys. They appreciate your community. They're going like, man, there's a lot of people. And some of you are already sending them notes. And so they're picking up on that saying, okay, we got to get those folks some tools. So there's a sweet looking little Roo. He's radical. He's kind of got a lot of little nuances in his feathers. He's got lots of space between, lots of white space between that. The whole morning's been about white space. So if you haven't noticed it, notice it now. Something as simple as white space. Have some today where you just make another cup of coffee, and maybe you got to run off to work and do something else right now. Maybe you got to go plant beans, plow the corn. Keep plowing. That's one of the Roodoodles. I can't even say it, can I? Noodle doodle fiddle piddle rules. Just keep plowing, okay? All right. Find some white space. You are creative, okay? So just find that space that you go, hey, I don't need to be anywhere for the next hour. I got a great pencil. I got a great pen. I got a great watercolor brush. I got a little palette with me. I'm just going to doodle here until something turns up, and it will. It won't disappoint you. That's just the way you're wired. We are wired to be makers. Hey, you don't believe it? Well, we were created in the first place. So just think about that. I want to go in here, my last little hoorah here, running several minutes over, just grab a little bit of this, and just give it a little bit of splatter down in here with some of that orange I picked up off the bird. If that's a little too much, I'm going to go right here, just grab a touch of that right there, and let it dry out that way right there, and just let it roll in. Okay, that's going to be a fun looking thing. It's also on my shirt. That's really fun when I splattered that. All right, hey, it's great to be with you this morning. I thank you for coming on the show and hanging out. Thank you for all the likes and the hitting the button, and I thank you for just sharing your page. I thank you for sharing your art. I thank you for sharing comments back and forth with each other and building a community that I had very little to do with. I just showed up online, and you've been a major part of that in my life already. I'm grateful, and I hope to see you tomorrow morning. It'll be day maybe 270 or 271. I don't know. At 275, I think I might throw myself a party. I'm out of here like a herd of turtles. Okay. Gotta go.